Hey everybody, welcome to the MXGP of Brazil, Beto Carreira, round 3 of the MXGP FIM Motocross World Championship, where my guests this weekend are Thomas Covington, Monster Energy Kawasaki from MX2, Roger Harvey, HRC General Manager for the MXGP team, and shortly we'll be hearing from Kevin Strijbos, the Rockstar Energy Suzuki World MXGP rider as well. The weather today has been pretty good. It's been hot, it's been humid, we've had a good racetrack, and hopefully it will stay like that throughout the course of the weekend. But let's crack on and welcome our first guest, Thomas Covington, MX2 Monster Energy Kawasaki rider. How's it been for you, the track today? You know, qualification, you've just come in about 30 minutes ago. How was it here, your first time to Brazil?
Oh, it's been pretty good so far, you know, just getting the bike dialed in and checking out the track. It's been really fun so far. Pretty challenging with all the ruts, and they watered it quite a bit, so there's a lot of ruts out there. The dirt's really tacky, so I've had a decent day so far.
And obviously, you know, it's pretty warm this weekend, just like it was in Thailand a couple of weeks ago. Much difference in the type of heat that we've got this weekend?
Yeah, it's not quite as hot as it was in Thailand, but it's actually been pretty nice weather today. Just hopefully we don't get a bunch of rain tomorrow.
Well, that was the forecast. I mean, it is changing the whole time, but obviously there's quite a few viewers that might not be so familiar with who you are and where you're from and that kind of thing. So maybe just some background information, where you're from, what age you first started riding, your first bike, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm from Vernon, Alabama, a little small town with like 3 red lights, and started riding when I was about 4 years old with my 2 older brothers, and then they took me to Loretta Lynn's and won my first title there in 2003, and the rest is history, I guess. That's where it all started.
And you've won a few Loretta titles right from the mini days, haven't you?
Yeah, I've managed to get 3 titles at Loretta Lynn's, so I'm really thankful for that, and thankful to be here in Brazil. It's awesome.
Obviously you're from Alabama, but you moved to California when exactly?
About 3 years ago, me and the family moved to California.
All right, and how are you finding it out there?
Oh, it's been awesome, and you know, the whole industry is out there. Everybody in the neighborhood has a dirt bike going riding every day, so it's really cool to live out there.
In terms of your riding history and the biggest wins, I guess Loretta Lynn's in 2012, the 250 class?
Yeah, Loretta Lynn's is definitely always the biggest race for us amateurs in America, and to win that a few times was really cool. And then my most recent win was down at Gatorback at Minias in the 450 class. So yes, Loretta's is my best race so far.
Cool. But obviously you're riding the MX2 class at the moment. You're here for, I think, 4 GPs, obviously the next one being in Italy in a couple of weeks' time. But it's not the first time you've been in a European race, if you want to call it that. You were in Matterley last year for the European 250 race. How did you find it? How was the whole experience of coming to Europe?
Yeah, going to Matterley last year was a really good experience for me. It kind of opened my eyes to the GPs and really led me to where I am this year in the GP class. So I thought it was a really good decision for me in the long run.
Obviously you're working with Johnny O'Mara as well, one of the legends of American racing, 83 and 84 motocross and supercross champion, 125 and 250. How did that relationship come about? How are you getting on with him, and what kind of things are you working on?
Yeah, it came about with my buddy Eric Johnson. He hooked me and Johnny up, and at the time I was just looking for somebody to put my program together and give me some organization with my program. So it's been going really good so far. I've been with Johnny for about 1.5 years now, and I have nothing but good things to say about it. It's been awesome. He's always on me every day, working hard. So I'm really thankful to have him in my corner.
I was reading an interview that was probably done back end of last year or maybe even early this year that Johnny was saying that when you do ride the AMA Nationals, when you go back in May, he's probably expecting you to be certainly top 10, even though you're an amateur status at the moment before you turn that into that pro class. But also maybe saying that top 5 wouldn't be out of the question. Are you kind of aiming for that anyway, and especially after your Qatar 3rd place finish at the opening round as well?
Yeah, for sure. We've always been aiming for that top 5. I mean, that's where we want to be. That's where everyone wants to be. So, yeah, Johnny has really high expectations for me, which is good. He's always pushing me and trying to get me to that next level. Just
looking at some footage from Qatar, the opening round, that second moto, obviously, eventually you finished in 3rd, battling with some of the more established riders in MX2. Jose Boutron just ahead of you. That pass there on the 59 of Alexander Tonkov. What was it like being there in the sharp end in your first GP?
It was an awesome experience for my first GP for sure. To be up there and ride with those established names and to see what the speed was like, it was a good first GP for me.
And were you surprised to be running top 3 in the end, or not really, based on what you've been doing with Johnny, I guess?
Well, I mean, it was definitely cool to be up there in the top 3, but I wasn't super surprised about it. I mean, I feel like that's where I should be if I ride like I should. So hopefully I can do it again before I go back to the U.S.
Obviously, Thailand was a little bit different 2 weeks ago, the week after Qatar. Hot, humid, more of an open circuit. How did you find that? Because a lot of people found that weekend pretty tough.
Yeah, the weekend was tough for sure. I don't know if the heat had anything to do with it, but just had a lot of technical bike problems that week. Just didn't really give me a chance to ride my best there.
And what about Brazil? Obviously, we just talked about your qualifying race a moment ago, but how are you finding the whole experience? Because you're becoming something of a bit of a jet-set traveler at the moment, aren't you? Qatar, Thailand, Brazil. Most people don't get to visit outside the US, I guess, your age.
Yeah, these past few months have been like a dream for me. It's all just like kind of blurry going all these different places, but Brazil so far is nice. The track here is actually really cool, so I'm looking forward to the races tomorrow.
All right, and we are expecting maybe, they say, some rain tomorrow, so how are your mud riding skills?
My mud riding's all right. I had quite a bit of experience doing that at Loretta's this year, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right, well, look, Thomas Covington from Monster Energy Kawasaki, MX2 rider. Wish you all the best, not just for this weekend, but also for the next GP in Italy in 2 weeks' time. But actually, just while I'm thinking about it, before I do let you go, are you then going to go back to the States, or are you going to stay and do the rest of the season, the FIM season?
I'm a bit undecided as of right now, but the plan is to go back to the U.S. and be at Glen Helen riding for Pro Circuit.
All right. Well, look, thanks again, Thomas Covington, Monster Energy Kawasaki MX2. No problem. Right, we'll let Thomas disappear and we'll bring in Kevin Strijbos. But alongside me already is Roger Harvey, the HRC General Manager from MXGP. Interesting qualifying in the MXGP class today, wasn't it? How were your thoughts on how the boys did, Max and Bobby?
Max mistakes, missed the start. In fact, his mate that you've just introduced there, Strijbos, he got out the gate in front of him, and he was pretty quick, but made the mistake. You know, he just spun the back end out, went off the edge of a berm, and it was difficult for him then because he was down in the pack.
Yeah, but obviously from an HRC perspective, yeah, it's quite a big project this year, isn't it? HRC seem to be back in at the sharp end after many, many years of not being involved at the top end. Obviously, you're pretty much running that. You're the general manager. How long has that been in the process in terms of coming to fruition? And you know, maybe just fill us in on some of the background on that.
Yeah. We started discussion about it last year. Obviously, the program up until this year has been run by Honda Europe. We started talking about it, and HRC was showing the interest. And to be honest, they've taken on Dakar was the first thing they took on as an official team. The second time they took on Motocross, as well as doing road race, and of course they're involved with the trials. You know, so they're everything there. And so it's to get into the off-road world, to get the off-road image that they're after. You know, that they used to have back in the 80s, 90s.
But it's not been, I mean, I remember that whole kind of era of Graham Noyce being Honda's, well, HRC's first world champion back in the 500 class in 79.
Yeah.
And obviously from then there was a pretty much unprecedented run of success. Maybe only Håkan Karlqvist, 83 on the Yamaha, was the one that interrupted those title-winning years right the way through to Gabors in 1990.
Yes.
Then after that, the whole program was switched off to, you know, MotoGP, you know, the Rothmans boys and the Repsol boys and that kind of thing.
Yep.
But suddenly, you know, you guys are back. So I guess you're pretty excited to be back, but, you know, why did it take so long?
Why did it take so long? It's all business-led, you know. It's all business-led, and the business probably in them days was more so the road bikes, the road bike side. And so things were targeted at the road race side. That's the way they did it, and that's what they've always been involved in. So it's an evolvement, and they've come to now where they want this off-road image. And as I say, Dakar was the first one, and now Motocross is the second one that they follow up, you know, with riders in MXGP and MX2 class.
And as projects go, I guess it couldn't have been more of a successful start for you, could it? Max Nagel winning the first race of the season in Qatar.
Amazing. Yeah.
You guys must have been quite pumped about that, because obviously there was a lot of top brass there that weekend, wasn't there, in
Yeah,
Qatar?
to be honest, I've got a lot of top brass every weekend. You know, we've got a lot of Japanese here with us. Between 4 and 8 Japanese coming to each Grand Prix.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's top brass there, and they were looking on. I think it was quite a surprise for everybody that Max went out and won the race. You know, we believed he'd been sandbagging. Sandbagging, yeah. We English know what sandbagging is, but like Max has been really secretive about his ability, his fitness and everything. Kept it all to himself. And then he just let it go in Qatar.
Yeah.
And it all come to fruition for him, you know. So we'd seen it in testing. We'd done a lot of testing in January. We've been in Sardinia for the majority of January. We started testing last October with HRC. So there was a lot of work gone in, and you could see it with Max, you know. His starts were improved. He was faster, yeah, and he's just running. And then you've got to talk about Bobby, you know, because it isn't only Max, it's a two-man team. Bobby, very, very fast again. You know, we believe he can be one of the fastest guys in the world.
Yeah.
But it's just this injury, you know, and like riding here this weekend, last 2 weeks ago, straight after Thailand, he went and had an operation. He's had a plate and 6 screws in the fibula, the lower part of the leg. And to be honest, that's still almost an open wound now. So he's suffering this weekend, you know, but gritting through it.
But what about Max, though? Obviously, we're looking at images from Qatar here.
Yep.
That first race, just going past our guest there. Shh, don't
Yes,
tell him, though,
yeah.
just in case he didn't notice.
He's paid him back this weekend. Yeah,
yeah. But Max, obviously, coming in this year, seems to be physically, mentally stronger than he was last year. Obviously, 12 months ago, he was in a bad place, wasn't he, in terms of not getting off to the best possible start, food poisoning, stomach problems and that kind of thing. But he seems in good shape now.
It was between Qatar and Thailand, and whatever happened, it ended up as an infection in the heart muscle, and so the heart basically being a pump wouldn't pump properly.
Right.
And so he suffered that all year, stomach cramps, and everything he was complaining of relates directly, when you discover what it is, to this problem that he had. So he suffered that all last year. So we never saw what Max could do last year, but hopefully, you know, looking at how it started in Qatar, we can see what he's going to do this year.
And obviously, you've just mentioned Evgeny Bobryshev starting the season injured again, which...
Same as last year.
When we look at last year, once he got himself sorted and was healthy, the last 4 Grand Prix, he was on the podium 3 times. The only one that he wasn't was 4th overall in Lierop, the final round. So how is Bobryshev now? How is, you know, Bobby in terms of his mental state at the moment? Because, you know, starting the season again, a long winter program of getting fit, getting strong, and then picking up an injury
straight away,
and then starting the season on the back foot.
It's difficult for him, you know, mentally. He keeps thinking, you know, why me? But pretty well it's the same injuries he did the beginning of last year. It's reopened itself up. But there's no pressure on him from our side. From team side, HRC side, there is no pressure on the kid to keep racing. I gave him the option in the week. I said, look, do you want to ride when we go to Brazil, or do you want to stay in Europe, recover for another week until Italy? And he says, no, my surgeon says my leg will be stronger. I want to ride. So, you know, Fox has done us some boots, and boots are slightly bigger. So everything's been done to try and help him. But there's absolutely no pressure on him. You know, we want him fit and healthy, and then we can see what Bobby can do.
And how was he in the qualifying race then, in terms of how he was feeling? Because obviously it's not easy riding around here, is it?
No, he's basically, if you watch him, he's riding around every right-hand corner with a foot on the footrest. He daren't put it down. The direct impact is not a problem, but he's every right-hander, he cannot put his foot down. He doesn't want to go through that twist. It's the twisting motion that's causing him pain. But like, if you're watching him, he's there. He finished 9th in that, which was pretty amazing, really. Yeah. Because he is suffering, and we've got painkillers for him and everything, you know. So doing the best job we can. But the surgeon says, you know, if you can bear the pain, you can race. You won't do any more damage, and it's his choice. His choice.
And what are the expectations then for these two? Obviously, Max is looking to try and get on the podium this weekend, but Bobby just gritting through it and trying to pick up as many points as possible, and then when he's ready to go? Absolutely.
That's what it's about with Bobby. That's why he decided he wanted to ride. He says, because I can still take points at these races over here. Right. That's why he did Qatar, he did Thailand, and that's why he's doing this race, you know, because he wants to take points so that when he comes back fit, he isn't a million miles away from the front guys.
All right, well, look, obviously for now, Rog, thanks a lot. I'll come back to you in a minute, about something else. I'm going to bring in Kevin Strijbos, Rockstar Energy Suzuki World MXGP, rider. And Kevin Strijbos, welcome to our studio here in Brazil. You've just won your second qualifying race of the year in 3 races. How does that feel?
Yeah, that was feeling good. You know, I got a good start and came out second and pushed really hard in the beginning because the Rui was in front of me, so I knew we didn't have the top speed. You know, so I passed in the first lap and managed to take took a gap and hold it like that. You know, was a pretty good race. Wasn't that easy because I got some arm pumps, so I had to slow down a little bit. But yeah, the gap stayed the same, or nonetheless.
Looked pretty easy, just like the one in Qatar. I mean, I'm going to mention this now because you're staying in the same hotel as we are. You look pretty relaxed by the pool on Thursday, I think it was. You obviously look pretty relaxed out there as well. How was the track?
Yeah, I think the track was good. You know, I think they just make a little bit too much water before the MX2 guys. It's better not to, not to take too much water. And but yeah, the track was good. You know, I think it's difficult to pass anyway if you're 5-6, you know, or even further. You know, it's difficult to come back. And so yeah, I think start is key here.
Well, you finished 4th in the championship last year, 2013. Obviously took, I think it was 9 top 3 race finishes, 5 overall podiums. Were you surprised to finish in 4th, or were you expecting just to be inside the top 5? Or what was the goal at the start of last year?
Yeah, I think the goal was, to do the same little bit as the 2012. So yeah, 5-6. So, but then the second half of the season came around and things were going better. I got some podiums in Loket and England and Lierop, and so yeah, I was happy with that. Everybody was happy with that. So yeah.
It was your best overall position since 2007, where you finished 2nd behind your teammate Steve Ramon. You're what, 28 now, 29, a little bit later on in the year. What are you doing differently, or is there anything that you're doing differently in terms of your riding? Are you approaching it in a slightly different way to how you were when you were 20, 21, 22 years old?
Not really, I think when I was working with or by my own, I did a lot of bad things. But then 2012, I was working with Harry Evers, and he was teaching me again the hard stuff, or the hard way. And since then, things were going better. So I owe him a big thanks.
Obviously, you just won the qualifying race, but this place has been pretty good to you over the past 2 years, hasn't it? 2012, you got your first podium, 3rd overall first time in 5 years, and then you were on the podium again last year. I guess you're pretty much looking forward to this racetrack tomorrow after today's result.
Yeah, sure. It doesn't matter if it's like, it's like big mud or just hard pack like now. But I hate it when it's raining a little bit, and then it stops and then it rains again. And I think or it rains full gas or it doesn't rain. So
conditions will look a little bit better than 2012 last year.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
How was the condition out there today, though? Because obviously a lot of water going down, because we're a little bit warmer today, aren't we, than we were last year and the year before. We've arrived right at the end of the Brazilian summer, so temperatures are a lot hotter.
Yeah, sure, because during the race I felt like I was getting pretty, not tired, but I was, getting more warm, and you feel the heat more than last year. Especially when I came here, I didn't thought it was so hot. So yeah, I think it's going to be a big role in the race.
Well, you're 3rd here, but there were occasions where you were 2nd on 3 occasions, Czech Republic, Matterley and Lierop. Just talk us through those Grand Prix as well, because they came second half of the season. So again, you were finding some kind of consistency and good form by the time you reached those races.
Yeah, sure. I think Loket is always a special track. I always do good there, and then I like very much the England track, Matterley Basin. I like that because it's really fluid. It's very long, and then it's not so tight as here. And then Lierop, of course, because it's sand. So I was hoping already for this year, that Brazil and England were coming a little bit sooner, so I can get maybe a little bit more quicker in my rhythm, because I like those tracks, and if I can make a podium here or there, so then I'm feeling more better. And obviously now this Brazil with the 3rd GP, and then England not so far. So looking forward to that.
Just looking at you here in Loket last year, actually, are you coming from Belgium? Do you prefer riding the hard pack more than the sand, or you consider more of a sand rider than the hard pack? Because you do get some decent results in the hard pack.
Yeah, sure. I think I think it doesn't matter too much. Like we see here, that track is really slippery. You have to be really easy on the gas, very smooth everywhere. And but I also like the sand, so I doesn't care too much about that.
Obviously, you were injured at the beginning of the season. How is the injury now?
It's coming better. The doctor said it was like taking 10 till 12 weeks, so it's 10 weeks now, and yeah, it's getting slightly better. I cannot run yet, but I can cycle, and on my bike it's not too painful. Definitely with normal tracks, I think when we get big mud tracks, when I need to lift the leg, then it's gonna get painful. But at the moment, it's quite good.
And just remind us again, what was the injury? It was pelvis.
Yeah, the pelvis. Some small piece broke off that, but didn't have too much problem on that part. It was just on the left side. It was like the bone was squeezed, and that was causing actually the most pain. So it's like nothing serious when you hear that, but it just takes a long time before it heals.
And obviously affecting your training as well, because everything goes through the centre of the body, the top of the legs, doesn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, final Grand Prix last year, Lierop. Was that the Grand Prix that maybe just got away from you? It was pretty heavy conditions. Tony was riding a 450. You led the first race in the early stages, and you were going away from everybody. But then, what happened then?
Yeah, sure. I came with two things to Lierop to take the 4th place because I was still 5th, and to win. And things were looking quite good until I made that stupid mistake by myself. Just to slow down a little bit to save some energy for the race, and that's where it all went wrong. I didn't find the rhythm anymore. Didn't have the speed anymore to go over the bumps, over the jumps. So. And yeah, Sean and Tony were catching me pretty quick then. So yeah, and Sean was riding really good over there. So.
And obviously, how would you evaluate the start of the season so far? I know you're 11th in the championship, but first 2 rounds could have been better. If so, why?
Yeah, sure, it could have been better. But when you see how much I rode or how less I rode, I only rode 9 days since probably since Lierop. So it's not so much, and so I came 7 or 8 in Qatar, and then with the fuel problem. Otherwise, I had two top 5 finishes there. So with that in mind, I think it's not so bad to get the start of the season like this.
Yeah, 7th in the championship so far. So. But obviously, before we go off air now, I want to get views from both of you. MX2 this weekend is going to be pretty interesting, isn't it? Because obviously championship leader Jeffrey Herlings has injured his shoulder again at a Dutch championship race in practice. We're not sure how long he's going to be out of action for, but definitely not here this weekend. And that throws the MX2 title race wide open. In your opinion, obviously, just to fill you in real quick as well, Glenn Coldenhoff, the Rockstar Energy Suzuki MX2 rider, came away with the win in the qualifying race. And he's the only guy in MX2 that has won a GP, the British Grand Prix at Matchley last year. Dean Ferris, the only other rider that won a GP. So when we go to the start tomorrow, we've only got one winner in MX2, that's Glenn Coldenhoff. So when we look at the potential that could happen tomorrow, where would you put your money? First of all, Kevin Strijbos.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put my money on Glenn. He's a friend of me, and we do a lot of things, and it's always fun with him. So I think he was riding also really good, because he got a decent start, like 5th or something, and the first few laps he pushed also pretty hard, and then he was riding really good, much better than in the practice. So I will put all my money on him, and hopefully he can get a red plate.
And what about you, Rog? Because last year when we had that situation where Herlings was out injured for a couple of races, suddenly we get to Belgium at Bastogne, and there were no riders that had won a Grand Prix, and there were a lot of guys cracked under the pressure there, wasn't there? We expected some pretty big players, maybe Jordi Tixier to go and win, and he didn't. Boutron got arm pump up, and it was Ferris that stepped up, and Coldenhoff in Great Britain, although maybe Ferris could have won in Great Britain last year. So what about you? What are your thoughts?
Looking at the race earlier, you've got to put your money on Coldenhoff.
Yeah.
Evidently, I was talking to 1 or 2 and said he was so nervous it was untrue going into the race. But he didn't look nervous on the bike there,
Not at all.
Ferrandis is the other one that's been going well in that class.
But he had 2 falls in the qualifying race. So what about Max? What about Tonus? They finished 2nd and 3rd in the qualifier.
Yeah,
if it rains tomorrow, do you think it makes it even more open?
Max, maybe. If he can get a start. He needs to get the start, Max Anstey we're talking about, obviously.
Yeah.
He can if he can get out there, he might be able to mix it with Koldenhoff. But Koldenhoff just seems to be riding with a lot of confidence at the moment, you know. And I think the kid could, you know, I think he wants to make a bag full of points so that when Jeffrey comes back, you know, he's got a bit of ground on him, you know.
And that's the thing. Jeffrey Hurlings has held the championship red plate since April 2012, I think. So, you know, that's a pretty long run anyway. You know, 2 years to be holding that plate, and whatever happens tomorrow, he's only got a 23-point advantage at the top of MX2. Normally, to win an overall Grand Prix, you're going to need anywhere between 43 and 50 points, maybe 38 on a bad day, I think I've seen in the past. But the guys have got to be consistent if they're going to want to walk away from here with a red plate. And I guess we're talking the likes of Tonus, maybe Ferrandis, those guys in at the sharp end. Maybe Koldenhoff as well could walk away with the championship lead if he has a good, successful day.
A lot's going to depend on the start, obviously. And Koldenhoff got out there today. A lot more is going to depend on the weather. Or a lot more, as much it will depend on the weather. If we've got a mud race, then French can always ride well in the mud, you know. Yeah. We've seen that before. But I still can't look away from the way he was riding just Koldenhoff. It was.
He looked relaxed, didn't he?
It looked comfortable. Yeah. Really did look comfortable.
And if it does rain, Kevin Strijbos tomorrow, you won't mind too much about that, or do you prefer it as it was today, nice and dry and big deep ruts?
No, I don't care so much. You know, I think yeah, when it rains, like I said, you know, when it rains, it has to rain like in 2012, and then it's all one big mud. So I'm good on boats, on both tracks, so I don't mind.
All right, well look, that's going to bring us to the end of our studio show here at Beto Carreiro in Brazil. So thanks to Thomas Covington, our Monster Energy MX2 Kawasaki rider, of course, Kevin Strijbos, Rockstar Energy Suzuki World MXGP from the MXGP class, of course, Roger Harvey, HRC General Manager for MXGP. And yeah, we look forward to a fantastic Grand Prix, hopefully on Sunday. And that's it, as I said, this weekend, but we'll be back in 2 weeks' time at Arco di Trento Round 4. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then. Bye for now.